Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, as now it's time for a Toy of the Week video. And today we're talking clear toys, as who doesn't love the see-through sensations? Yes, there have been some exceptional examples of clear plastic toys over the years, as they tend to pop up in all manner of different Transformers lines, typically as variants of the main releases themselves, and never fail to raise a bit of delight in how they show off the inner workings of a design. Now personally, I'm a real sucker for a clear toy, as there's just something about seeing a familiar figure decked out with a tantalizingly transparent finish that never fails to send me all aflutter. I mean, just look at these beauties, right? And yes, inevitably someone will have to tell you that the things are fragile because clear plastic is commonly much more brittle, and that they'll have turned to dust in however many years and yada yada yada, but you know what? La 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 la, I'm not listening. Joking aside, it's true that you do have to be careful with clear toys, but come on, when they look as good as this, isn't it worth the risk? After all, they're so pretty. Besides, maybe it's that delicate nature that makes them all the more special, right? Like they're beautiful, but it's fleeting. And they do say that the best things don't last forever. So with that in mind, we'd probably better get on with today's video before the subject matter crumbles in my hands. Now this is a very special convention exclusive release of the 3 Car Robots brothers from the 2000 Takara series, and I'm sure by the end of this video it will be clear to see just how wonderful they truly are. The Super Car Robo 3 Kyodai set contains all 3 of the fan-favourite Car Robot brothers from Takara's 2000 series of the same name, although now in souped-up clear plastic fashion. These 3 original designs became well known by Transformers fans just after the turn of the century, as they were a signature part of the series as it returned to its vehicular-based roots after Beast Wars and Beast Machines. Though still featuring much of the enhanced engineering and articulation that had been developed during the Beast era, all 3 of these toys turn into rather impressive and quite accurate looking car forms. The big difference with this set is that they are of course decked out in true see-through fashion, setting them apart from previous versions of the mold and making them a really attractive prospect for any collection. They were released back in 2000 as an exclusive to 3 separate conventions, including the Osaka Toys Land Show, Super Festival 19, and finally at BotCon Japan, and were limited to just 1,500 pieces in total. Though fairly readily available even today, the set has still gone on to become one of the most desirable aspects of the Car Robots line amongst collectors, despite whatever concerns there may be about the stamina of the clear plastic. They present in stark contrast to the original Car Robots trio, which featured very different colour schemes to begin with, although managed to look pretty special all in their own right. There were then super mode variations of the molds, depicting the brothers in their powered up forms which at least bear the same basic coloration as the clear set. In the cartoon, the super modes are first activated by Ultra Magnus, who powers up each of the brothers after they're attacked by Megatron, giving them additional strength that allows them to battle off the Decepticons. We later see this super mode being activated at will, with the animation briefly depicting a clear appearance of Sideburn's car mode during power-up at one point, which seems to serve as the inspiration for this release. Either way, it's an exceptionally handsome trio of toys that never fails to impress either on camera or in a display, and remains the only instance of the brothers being released in one package set so far. Sideburn himself is probably my personal favourite of the 3 in clear form, with the car mode looking nothing shy of breathtakingly good. The flames on the bonnet and doors complement the look to no end, whilst the translucent plastic sets off the details in the sculpt and contrasts against the shiny chrome engine quite beautifully. Next up is Wild Ride, who employs a varied and vivid colour palette atop the clear plastic finish to again look rather marvellous in this vehicle mode. The paint applications and finer details are also incredibly crisp and clean, and work with highlights such as the blinging gold wheels to ensure that Wild Ride is never far from your attention. Finally, it's Mac Alert, who remains my preferred overall design and looks positively gorgeous as part of this set. Lamborghini alt modes may be all too familiar in Transformers, but it's fair to say they rarely come as eye-catching as this, with Mac Alert's finish and detailing all making him a veritable showstopper. The attention to detail on all three is quite superb, with rubber tyres and opening doors being a highlight, and even a pull-up bonnet and moulded engine to be found on Wild Ride. Together, this is a set of vehicles that still manage to grab you by the eyeballs, even after all these years. When it comes to transformation, much has been made of the fiddly nature of these toys over the years, which is a sure sign of what a departure they were for vehicular mode Transformers compared to anything that came before them, and indeed what was to follow soon after. In truth, while they were more complex than a lot of comparative designs from the era, there's still a lot of fun to be had in how these three twist and turn to reveal their respective robot modes, especially given the often asymmetrical nature of their designs. The clear plastic of course requires a delicate touch along the way, mind, but still it shouldn't be long before you have these lads contorted up and looking quite resplendent indeed. With their super mode colour schemes shining through even more in robot form, the brothers managed to remain as striking as ever and bring a huge amount of play value to the fore here as well. For one thing, they're packing in an unparalleled amount of articulation for toys of this size and can be put into any number of powerful poses as a result. They all feature their own distinctive weapons too, with Sideburn boasting a handheld missile launcher made from his rear bumper, along with a small blaster which can stow away in vehicle mode. Wild Ride utilises the rails from the underside of his car form as missiles for his cannon arm, although they can alternatively be wielded by his larger left hand as clubs, or indeed stored away on his backpack when not in use. Should you prefer, the car mode's front bumper can also be detached and held in hand for a spot of additional offensive weaponry. Don't mess with Wild Ride. Finally, there's MacAlert, who brings the heat with a pair of flaming missile launchers attached to his right arm and a sizable shield on the left. Overall, there's an absolute ton of fun to be had in all three of these designs, not to mention they remain some of the most unique looking robot forms I can think of in the Transformers franchise. Still, whilst they were already rather special in either of their previous two incarnations, it's the clear set that really takes the cake in terms of how eye-poppingly attractive they all are. In many ways, Car Robots remains a truly unique part of Transformers history, and is deservedly beloved by fans all because of these sorts of wonderful and quite idiosyncratic designs. Who knows if Takara will ever see fit to revisit this chapter again in the future, but even if they don't, at least they managed to achieve perfection on their first outing with these three. So some of you may know that I'm a massive fan of Car Robots, and of course the three brothers are a signature part of that lineup, with the clear set just putting them into overdrive. Now it is funny to think back on when I first handled the original versions of these toys though, as I remember thinking how complicated and intricate Sideburn was at the time. Like no other Transformers toy could ever be as challenging as this ever again. Now it is an opinion I still see levelled at the design online sometimes, typically when people haven't necessarily experienced it in a good long while, whereas the reality is that it's actually much more straightforward than a lot of toys we've seen released since, especially in lines like Masterpiece. I guess when you think about it, it was 20 years ago though. This is fine. My advancing years aside, these really are some wonderful designs, so with Hasbro currently ploughing through Beast Wars for inspiration in the Kingdom line, here's hoping that they eventually see fit to bring us new versions of some Car Robots classics too. Wouldn't that be a thing? Anyway, that's it from me, so don't forget to drop me a like if you enjoyed today's video, and have a great rest of your day. TTFN.